Yo, guys, what's up? And welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 146. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zaberwolf. We're going to be going over episode 4 of The Penguin and episode 6 of Agatha All Along and any other nerdy views in between. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video on your way out, and if you're watching a replay, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. Without further ado, here we go. Yo, what's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going, buddy? Pretty good. How you been?
I'm good. That was a good intro. We do those intros live, by the way. So for anyone who's asking, sometimes I fuck them up, sometimes I don't. But today we did well. I should pre-record it and then just add it after, because sometimes I do it bad. So, how are you? How was the week?
Good. Week is good. Doing really good work right now. We've been getting a lot of praise, like at work, for all the work, everything that we've done so far, and we're kind of like. One of the projects that I've been working with, it turned from a story into an epic, because it's just going to be a lot of stories coming with it. Okay. So I'm very excited to get it finished. I'm doing paired engineering with another coworker of mine, so that we both like have a great understanding of what to do while we're working on the project. I really should start taking notes and at least creating like a wiki page, because like some sort of thing to kind of get like keep it down, so that if anybody needs to make this stuff, like they should be able to just read that. And
we've taken on a new client, and we're building out like a knowledge base on just all kind of installing like different softwares, and like supporting different pieces of like in-house stuff that they have, and so on, and like configuring VPNs, all that sort of stuff that it takes me a while to figure all this stuff out, because they're a brand new client, and I'm just like, okay, I know this stuff now. I got to write it all down, just so, when a support ticket comes in 3 months down the line, people aren't pinging me like, oh, what's the VP? What's the IP address? I'm like, what? That was 3 months ago. Like, how am I supposed to know? So yeah, it's just, documentation is key in our line of work, for sure.
It's not key. Security vulnerabilities within your wiki documentation.
Oh Jesus, yeah, that doesn't sound good.
so have you ever gone through documentations and found something that's like clearly sensitive information?
Yeah, of course,
yeah. Look, we ran into one, and it was huge, dude. It was like admin level. Like, if someone finds this, they can pull all of our information.
Wow. Yeah,
they could just grab everything.
That's scary.
Yeah.
So. I didn't know you were a tech guy, Finto. Yeah, dude. Yeah. We both are. We both work in the IT industry during our real lives, in the real world. But yeah, at night we play. I hope you're doing well, Griff. Thanks for hanging out. Anybody who's in the chat, appreciate everybody. And if you're listening to us on a replay, thank you so much. If you're listening to us on Spotify, all that lovely stuff, appreciate you. Let's just dive straight in, because honestly, when I watched the 2 episodes this week of the kind of our 2 main topics, Penguin and Agatha, I kind of thought to myself, geez, we had a good week of content this week, and I was looking forward to sitting down and talking to you about it. I presume Penguin was probably the better episode of the 2. Like, it was almost perfect in my opinion. Like, it was incredible. Agatha, I'm curious to see what you think. I'm curious to kind of like unravel everything we've kind of found out in episode 6, but I think Penguin's probably the better episode of the 2. Do you want to start with that this week?
You say Penguin?
Yeah,
let's do Penguin. It's fine.
Yeah, I think Penguin, like, again, I was looking, I can't remember who posted it. I saw someone posted on Twitter, like one of the official sites. They were saying that like the episode is sitting on like a 9.5 out of 10, like blew everybody's socks off. It was incredible. It was a really, really good episode. One of my first thoughts watching it was, Jesus, why didn't they just like cast Mark Strong at the start? Because he was like so good playing Falcone. And obviously in the movie they had a different actor playing him, but in the show it was a different. I know. I suppose they could kind of get away with it because it was like technically flashbacks, but I don't think the flashbacks go back that far. If I'm not mistaken, like it's only like it's only a couple of years from when the Batman takes place, really. Maybe 10 at most.
Yeah, like from what we see, like at the very least, we see when Sophia was a child, and then she's was playing hide and seek and found, like, basically ran into her mom.
Oh, that was grim. Grim
That
scene.
was pretty crazy. But at the same time, like it worked because then you get this like, okay, so this is why she might be fucked up. And then you get further down the line and you're like, oh no, uh, she was completely fine, but her family just went, like, her dad just was like, nope, shutting that shit down, not even gonna attempt to, like, make sure that things are all right. Like, it's so messed up, man. Like, just to think about the fact that, like, your own father would rather put you behind bars and make you into a crazy person.
In a loony bin, in
Yeah,
the loony bin, it's
right.
crazy. As Griff says in the chat here, her origin was heartbreaking. Fully agree. I like when you see her find the body and she then kind of, Falcone comes in and you kind of just know straight away he's got like the scratch marks, the defense wounds on his hands and stuff, and I'm like, oh god, okay, so he's after killing the mother, and then
Yep.
Obviously that's going to change her going on through life, and then obviously he has her admitted. Like I didn't see that coming. Like I kind of thought that she kind of maybe was a bit insane herself, or she was loopy or whatever, or started going on a killing spree, and like the police put her there. I didn't think that she was going to be admitted there by her own family. That was a nice twist. I didn't see that coming. Josh, what's up? Welcome. But basically, yeah, like, oh man, like there's a lot to break down in the episode. I think it was like, again, I gotta say, Mark Strong, he really fucking blew it out of the water. Like, I thought he was really good. Like, he's a phenomenal actor anyway. That's no news it's no news to anybody. Like, he's incredible. But like, I just sat there thinking like, wow, I just wished it was him the whole time. Because like, even when you see, when he tells Sophia that he wants her to take over the family, like that, she's grown at that stage. So it's like, how long before the Batman is that? Like, I'm having trouble forgetting. I think, was she in for 7 years, or was it 10? I can't remember the exact number of years. It is mentioned in one of the previous episodes.
Yeah, I think it was like close to 10. Like, she was gone for a while.
Yeah, so let's say 10, right? So that scene is happening, say maybe 11, 12 years before the Batman movie. So yeah, Griff confirms 10 years. So yeah, like, it's not that long ago that technically, like, Mark Strong, like, wouldn't have aged that much. So it's kind of a recast and not kind of a younger self sort of recast, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like, I wonder why they didn't use the actor who was in the movies. I can't think of his name right now. I apologize to the gentleman if he's listening to us, but the guy from Transformers, I can't think of his name. He's a great actor, of course, but it's just weird that they would recast such a key character. The only reason, because I had heard that Mark Strong was going to be in the show, and the only reason why I thought that was maybe if they were going to like go back 20 years or something and have him as a much younger version of Falcone. So I don't know. It didn't really make it. Was scheduling. Okay, yeah, Griffin coming in with all the facts. Scheduling conflicts. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, for sure. But oh man, like, I just loved it. I know we kind of had a conversation last week about like maybe who episode 3 was kind of more focused on. I think there was no argument this week was definitely a Sophia episode. Like, it was just crazy. It was, and like, I loved seeing her in Arkham and getting to meet Magpie and the two of them kind of getting close together. And I don't know, I don't know, I love kind of like prison stories and stuff. And I just thought, like, I felt so sorry for her, as Griff said, it was heartbreaking because, again, she was just dropped into the heat of it and just around some of like Gotham's worst. But she does kind of land on her feet straight away, and obviously, takes on that mantle of the Hangman, which is really fucked up when you think about it after we know now what happened to her. I thought it was interesting as well to find out that the brother was like kind of like the softer one of the two, and the father didn't really think that he had what it took, because when we meet him and when we see him throughout the show so far, we you think he's like the hot shit coming in to take over and stuff, but it was all kind of just talk. He's not really kind of hard man. The life isn't really for him.
Well,
which I thought was a nice little twist.
Right, but I think it's kind of funny though, because in the comics he's actually the holiday killer.
Oh wow, okay, didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's during the events of the Long Halloween, which is what this is based on. And
Nice,
so the idea is that like he essentially was, killing people during holidays. Um, and when it's revealed, he like eventually gets killed by Sophia in the later run when she becomes known as the Hangman Killer
nice.
because he sees her brother as a disappointment to the family.
That kind of annoys me because that would have been great to see.
Right? Like it would have been
Like,
cool.
yeah,
Like
that would have been really cool to see. There they go again, right? Doing stuff better in the comics and just not taking from page to screen. I kind
right.
of understand why they did it this way in the show. You have to kind of show Oz as being a bit like, impulsive and, trying to get to the top and,
Right. Yeah.
cutting throats and like that's like it was impactful, I think. And like it definitely helped this story. But that does seem like a really cool fucking story. That would have been
Right.
like really cool to see if it was more focused on Sophia. You know,
Yeah.
the show's not called Sophia Falcone, it's the Penguin. So we are kind of focusing on the Penguin, but that would have been a really cool story.
Right. And like it's difficult to do so because they've already changed the way Carmine died as well. Because apparently Carmine gets killed by Two-Face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then like they have to kind of move things around and try to see what they can make a story of. And depending on what the way that they made the characters within the movie, they kind of have to translate it into the show the same way. Because it'd be kind of weird if like if he had taken over and like there's no known like evidence of him actually being a killer, just like that he had to take over. But I found it weird, like thinking about it now when we look at the first, like if we were to go back to the first episode, how Alberto like kind of is like so relaxed, like you say, like too much of a softie in the sense, and so it kind of like it still kind of shows in that sense, like he would have still been sort of a disappointment.
Yeah.
And maybe that's also why like Penguin killed Alberto, sorry. And so like it kind of fits in that same storyline. It's just makes it more impactful because like now it creates this distrust, and because Penguin killed Alberto, like it's this whole like you got to trust me kind of situation. So it really like it really takes its own story, and yeah, like I agree with you though. Like I think it would have been cool to see like it done like from the pages to the show like 1-to-1. But I still think that this works out pretty well because of the way that they show Sophia and they portray her and her like time in Arkham, and everything that was going on. Everything was just against her until she found a way to turn the tide.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there was a scene where I think it was a flashback scene where she's in the car and the brother's like, where she's kind of like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, there's a lot of stuff you don't know about Dad. And I don't want to tell you because I don't want you to look at him differently and stuff like that. So like, even though Falcone himself kind of referred to him as being like, the softer one, I don't know if he was trying to play them against each other because, that's kind of mixed signals because, obviously Alberto is more so in the inner circle than she is, but then he's telling her that he wants her to take over the family, but he's not telling her stuff. So it kind of feels like he's like putting them against each other. And maybe he was, I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But I think that's an interesting dynamic as well.
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll see more of that too. I just want to just address this very quickly. Sorry, Josh in the chat's just asking if we saw the trailer for Creature Commandos. I haven't seen it. I have it down as a note here. I was thinking perhaps that we could do a bit of a blind reaction to it when we're finished talking about this week's shows, and we can kind of just play the trailer, kind of react to it, and see what we think.
Sure.
It was on my notes anyway to talk about, but yeah, I just wanted to make that reference. I haven't forgotten you there, Josh. What do we think of the end scene for the episode? Like, I thought, like, where she goes around gassing the whole place, like she's basically just killed the whole Falcone family, except for your man. What's his name? I can't think of his name.
Oh yeah, I forgot his name as well.
His name for some reason just will not stick in my head. I don't know. The guy I'm talking about. Basically, he's like, he just wakes him up at the end. We got to talk or whatever. I was like, holy shit. I thought she was kind of waking him up just to kind of be like, look into my eyes as I kill you sort of thing. But obviously she's now made the power play It's like I've taken this family by force. You're gonna work for me or you're dead.
It's Johnny Beatty.
Thank you, Griff. Yeah,
Yeah.
legend.
I just was looking it up right now. Played by Michael Kelly, fucking amazing actor.
I love
Dude's
him.
been
Yeah,
in a lot of shit.
I love him. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's a really good actor. Anytime I see his face, I just know, yeah, we're in for a treat. Sophia's character in the comics was a large Amazonian-looking woman. I make
Yeah,
up
she
was rocking a yellow dress. I saw the internet was going crazy about the yellow dress. It was hilarious. I was like, I saw so many kind of memes and tweets like, I can change her, I can fix her. As she's going around with a gas mask on, just like wiping out her whole family. It's like, I can change her.
it really creates that classic femme fatale look that we haven't seen in quite a long time. And I think it just fits so well. Like the design of it, the way that she sat down at the table and she was just expressing herself, and making people understand, like, you guys fucked me up. Like, it wasn't that I was in the wrong. It's that you guys never did anything to help me feel like I was right. And because the rest of the family was like trying to shut her down, I think that really cemented like the idea of who she was going to take out eventually. If anyone had possibly defended her, maybe they would have survived, but they, none of them gave her anything.
I'm surprised Vidi survived because he outright threatened her life in the last episode. So like, I thought he would be the first to go.
Well, like I said, I think he's a strong connection. He's necessary to make a connection with other gang members, like the triads.
Yeah, for the Bliss deal. Yeah, true. That's probably the only reason why he's alive.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she's a great actress, and I just love, like, she's got really big eyes, and the way she kind of looks at the camera, and she just looks insane, and it's just so well done. But now we know she's not insane. Although maybe she is insane after her 10 years in Arkham. I'd say Arkham would make anybody insane. It's just, she just pulls it off so well. She's such a great actress. She's gone up like several notches in my book from these 4 episodes alone. Like, I can't wait to see the rest of the series. And like, I'd love to see her move on and be in Batman 2 and whatever. Like, again, I don't know what happens by the end of this show. Hopefully she lives. It'd be cool to see her go onto the big screen in it as well, because she is a movie actress. So it's very possible. Sorry, I interrupted you there. What, you were going to say something, were you?
You know what? I kind of don't remember what I was going to say. I think I was just rolling off of what you did.
sorry.
No, you're good.
That happens to me all the time as well. Like, I'm listening to you talk, and I have a point in my head, and I'm like, I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to wait for him to finish, and then you say something, and then I reply to what you say, and then it's gone. And then, like, I might just think, sometimes I'm listening back to the episode, like a week later, I'm like, oh, I forgot I wanted to bring this up, and then just the whole conversation goes a different way. It's funny, like, that's what happens when you kind of shoot your shit off the cuff. Like, I try not to script this as much as possible and just let it be a kind of natural chat between us. And that's part of what I think, like, what I love about it is just, it's just us shooting the shit. But yeah, great fucking episode. Like, 9.5 out of 10 is, there's nothing as a 10 out of 10. So I think this is close enough to perfect as you can get. I'm very excited for tomorrow's episode. These podcasts are recorded on a Sunday night. Like, the new episode is out in a couple of hours. I kind of hate that we do it this way. This is just the way it lands. It's the way HBO are, and we get the same thing that happens with like Game of Thrones / House of the Dragon and stuff like that. Like, but it's just, this is how the schedule works, unfortunately. But it's just, obviously I'd like to be uploading this quicker just to maybe hit the algorithm a bit better. But to be honest, I even think this show, it has been so successful, and there's so many people kind of watching it and interested in it, that I feel like the last couple of episodes of the podcast have just been elevated because of this show. And it's great to see. Like, I've heard bigger YouTubers talk about this stuff in the past, where it's like, when a show's good depending on how good your videos do, and like that even equates to a small channel like ours, less than 250 subscribers. But I see those trends as well, even on our channel. So it's crazy. Like, it really is. Like, I think the episode 1 of the Penguin, that podcast episode, is like our best podcast ever. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
It's so it kind of seems like whenever we see like a high positivity, that's when we get like the most people interested in what's going on. When it becomes something that's like a bit kind of like either mid or kind of hitting it into the low tier, that's when we notice like it's not really gonna give us as much of a strength as to what they want to talk about, because then at the point nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's a rough patch, but at the same time, like, we have to talk about it. Like, it's not, it's not like you have to sweep it under the rug. Like, we should talk about it. We should give the points as to why this thing shouldn't shouldn't be looked upon as something good. Should be looked upon as something that needs improvement.
Yeah. Josh in the chat just says here, I haven't seen The Penguin yet, but I might. I enjoyed Peacemaker, so I'll give it a chance. This show is nothing like Peacemaker, but I'm not trying to put you off this show, because I think this show is actually better than Peacemaker, but it's a very different show. Peacemaker is kind of funny and it's full of action, and it's like, a team build up thing, like, and it's fun. Like, I loved Peacemaker. You did as well, Alex. I know when we were covering Peacemaker live, there was more people on the podcast, so I think there was 4 of us at the time. So I think it was kind of a 50-50 split. Some of us were liking it, some of us weren't, and it kind of made for really good conversations. But me and you both loved it, so I think, if when season 2 comes out, I think there'll be a lot more kind of positive feedback of that show on this podcast. But it was a bit of up and down. Like, I know Hoffman did not like Peacemaker at all, and I don't think Kyle liked it very much either. But
dude, I loved it. I love that all the characters got like their moments. I still think one of my favorite scenes is like, what's your favorite color? Didn't we just go through like what yes or no questions?
Yeah, I'm talking about HBO superhero shows as a whole. Yeah, like again, the original like stuff like Titans and stuff wasn't great at all, but like anything that's on HBO, I think like it's probably the top tier of TV. Do you want to taste it?
That song is so good.
Anything that like kind of hits HBO, especially at this time, like, the Sunday evening slot is like premium television. Like, and there's no arguments about it. Like, my parents don't like comic book stuff at all. They'll watch like everybody in the world kind of likes The Dark Knight. Like, my parents like that movie. Like, there's no one that doesn't like that movie. If you don't like that movie, there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry. But this show is kind of similar to that, because it seems to be bringing everybody in. I've said this before, but like, I have friends of mine who aren't into comic book movies either, texting me going like, what do I need to watch before I watch the Penguin series? I really want to check it out. So it's kind of transcending comic books. Like, it's going into kind of general population of entertainment, rather than being like, nerdy TV or, comic book TV. Like, it's transcending that kind of stereotype or genre or whatever you want to call it.
It's crime. Like, I think it's really just because it's like crime. Like, people love crime stories. People love a good crime story.
But like, look at how good The Sopranos was. I know I don't think you said you hadn't seen The Sopranos.
No, I watched the whole thing.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I was talking to somebody else about it, and they said, I can't remember. I thought it was you, but never mind. There are people out there that have not seen The Sopranos, and I highly recommend that you do. I only did a watch through of it there a couple of months ago with my missus, who had never seen it before. Some of it is a little outdated watching it in 2024 for sure, but the show is incredible, and there's no denying it. It's amazing, and like, James Gandolfini is just absolutely incredible as Tony Soprano, and like, you can see a lot of influence from Sopranos in this show. Like, even how Colin Farrell kind of talks and moves and acts, like, he definitely is taking a lot of inspiration from Tony Soprano, but it is its own thing for sure.
Yeah, it works out.
Yeah, I think why it's doing so well and kind of transcending comics is because it is a HBO show where The Sopranos lived, and it's on that premium slot on Sunday evenings. And I think a lot of people who just kind of want to sit down on a Sunday night and turn on HBO and see like what the top tier television is on at that time, and they see this show, The Penguin. Oh, let's watch this. And the way that it was done is so clever as well, because it's kind of jumping into a universe that is only just beginning as well. It's not as if it's part of the DCEU that was around for 10 years and you need to watch fucking 12 movies to know who Batman is and all this sort of shit. Like, at least this show is a standalone show. Technically, you could jump into this after not watching anything. You'll pick it up in the first episode. You'll know what's going on. It's very simple. It's very simple to follow, and it just works. It really does. It's incredible.
Superheroes aren't cinema.
Yeah, who was it that said? Was it Martin Scorsese was like talking shit about like superhero movies in an interview before, like, and everyone kind of just clambered onto that, like, oh my god, the great, like, Scorsese doesn't like comic book movies and stuff. Like, look, are they like the best movies of all time? No, of course not. But they make fucking billions and billions of dollars, and they're highly entertaining. And to be honest, some of them are some of my favorite movies ever. Yeah, if it's not for you, great, go watch something else.
And the guy makes like these like out of pocket, like just amazing films that have nothing to do with superhero stuff. For a guy that like would say that, I would say like, yeah, of course he's going to say something like that, because it's like all you do is make other shit. Like you have no say within the confines of the genre. So like, I understand you don't understand it. You don't agree with it because you don't understand it. It's easy to just be like, oh, I hate this, I hate that. But like, try it. Like, I'd imagine, like, if he were to say that is bullshit, but then he comes around and he makes a film, like a superhero film, and it's just like his own design and whatnot, and it makes a fucking hit, then we know the dude can just piss gold anywhere. Like,
yeah,
he's just
I would love to see that. He would actually be perfect for this.
Oh yeah,
Scorsese doing this, or doing like a Batman movie in this world, this kind of gritty. I think it would actually really work. There's definitely directors out there that they shouldn't be able to make comic book movies, but they can, and they do. Like, like, I think the man probably could do it. He wouldn't want. I don't think. Obviously now, I think he probably couldn't do it, but yeah, I just think it would be interesting, and I think it would be something dark, like a Batman movie or something along those lines. I'm trying to think of other characters that'd be cool for him to do. It's got to be something kind of gangster related, like, I could see him doing something for Marvel, like one of the darker things, like Daredevil or something like that, like a Daredevil movie, like done by Scorsese or something, like, could be really cool.
Imagine, like, yeah, like if that was the case, and imagine if he did like Kingpin, like if he just straight up did a Kingpin.
Yeah, something like that would be great. Like, I think, Daredevil, and then let him do Kingpin, obviously, as the villain of that movie and stuff. If he's gonna, like, if you gotta, because you gotta think, like, he is probably he's like top 5 ever, right? So it's like, if you're getting him in, like, I don't think you're gonna get him to do a kind of side story about a villain. I think you get him in to do one of the big boy movies, like,
Yeah,
so it's got to be something huge. Like,
I'd be down with that. Like, just get, like, Max Payne would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
I think it should be redone. Like, I actually genuinely liked Max Payne and his story and whatnot. I know most people didn't like 3, but I like 3 a little bit. But I know most people like abide by 1 and 2, from what I understand. But
did they do a remake with Mark Wahlberg in like 2008 or something?
Yeah, they did a movie with him, and I don't think it got good reviews as far as I remember. I never watched everybody it. Know. Yeah, I don't recall if I watched it, to be honest.
I don't think many people watched it. I'd missed this. Sorry, Griff just kind of said, and this will be kind of a nice little close off of the topic of this episode. But will it stick the landing, though? Talking about the Penguin, and what are our guys' prediction for the finale? I haven't really thought about story wise what's going to happen in the finale. I think, maybe Oz ends up on top. Like, he has like kind of one of the main kind of crime families under his thumb, and in that happening steps it up into the next Batman movie, and now Penguin is more so on Batman's radar. I think that's kind of what you got to do. You got to kind of elevate Penguin to be more of a threat for Batman to go after him. I think that's probably what the goal is. With the show itself, I haven't really thought too much about it. I think it would be really nice to see Batman appear in the show, or even just Bruce Wayne showing up or something. I think it'd be really, really nice, and it'd be like a nice little like transition into the next movie. But yeah, I think Oz has to do something crazy, and then has to be on Batman's radar for like the next big movie, or maybe Batman 3 or something. Because I presume they have Batman 2 already kind of in the
works.
Yeah, or well, maybe whatever happens in this, maybe they've written this before they wrote Batman 2, and maybe it just all seamlessly goes into each other, which is what they should be aiming to do, because I think the way that the Batman one goes into this is perfection. It's beautiful. And then if this was to then bridge into Batman 2, that would be absolutely incredible. Like, that's always what I've wanted for Disney Plus Marvel shows. I've wanted to just seamlessly kind of blend between small screen, big screen, small screen, big screen all the time. And they just haven't been doing that. And that's just the way the MCU has been since Phase 4. Like, the connective tissue has just disappeared, and it's heartbreaking.
Right. And then depending on what they do, like how much they pulled from the resources of these of this situation, because like in terms of the fictional character history, we see that like it's pulling from the Long Halloween and Dark Victory, because Dark Victory is when the Hangman killer is revealed to be Sophia. So I'm assuming that she's going to take up the moniker, and she's probably going to start doing that as like an MO. And then because they kind of reverse the roles, not so much reverse the roles, but like substituted Two-Face for Penguin and changed the course of history. It's possible that they might use that same resource and have Penguin kill her at the very end and shoot her in the head.
Yeah, I think, like, as Griff says here, Oz has burnt every bridge that he has. How does he make it out of this? He makes it out by killing everybody and being the last man standing. I think Sophia's probably got to go, or maybe she goes back into Arkham or something that happens at the end. Like, gets taken off the board somehow. Maybe it's not death, but maybe it's she gets arrested again or something happens. And then Oz takes over, or maybe she just steps away, and Oz gets the family, and it's his empire. Because like in the comics, like Penguin is kind of one of the big hitters in Gotham. He runs the Iceberg Lounge, and he is a gangster, and he has his own kind of crew and everything like that. So I presume that's where it's going to go. Just how quick it gets there, I don't know. I don't know if there's plans to do a season 2 of this show. I don't know if it just the story continues in the next Batman movie. I haven't really been seeing a lot of kind of talk about it. Like, there's obviously talk about how great the show is online, but I haven't seen any kind of leaks for what's coming next or anything like that. Like, it's all the talk is just about what's currently happening from what I see online. So, yeah.
I mean, it just it would make sense to at least do a season 2 so that we can see like I would say the rise of the Iceberg Lounge.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that'd be really cool. Just like the introduction of him, like walking into the area, thinking that he needs to reformat everything and just kind of like make it into his style. And then, we see that he's starting to gather thugs, henchmen, trying to do some deals here and there. And then like Batman rolls in. Eventually, like we have to get Batman to come in at some point and like at least be like one of the showstoppers.
That's why I kind of think it would be perfect for him to show up by the end of the show, and it could be Bruce or it could be Bats himself. It doesn't really matter which way they do it, but I think one of them has to show up by the end of the show. If the events of the show take place and Oz gets catapulted to like the top of the family, like it'd be cool if Batman showed up just going like, I know what's going on here, buddy. I'm keeping an eye on you. Because the way in the movie they kind of have that moment where Oz gives some information where where Batman bursts into the Iceberg Lounge, and he's just like, give me information, blah blah blah, and they're like, it's just like, anything else I can have. It's as if like Penguin's trying to be buddy with him. He's kind of afraid of him. So it'd be cool if Penguin kind of gets those big shoes on, thinking that he's the big Don, and then Batman comes back in as in like, slow your horses there, pal. Like, don't forget that I'm here, and I'll put you down if I have to, sort of thing. Like, that'd be such a cool end to the season, and then it just beautifully sets up season like the next movie or season 2 or whichever way they want to go with it. I presume the movie will be next. I would, that'd be my my guess, because I think Colin Farrell's a big actor. I don't think they can just jump straight into a season 2. Maybe I'm wrong. But I get the feeling that he probably has other stuff in his books, and these shows take a while to make. Like, they seem to shoot this all together and then go through the editing of it. Like, it's not like a CW show where it's they're only like in the CW. Like, I gotta pay respect to those guys. Those actors work very hard. Like, usually the episode that airs on TV, they're only like maybe 4 episodes ahead in filming. Like, they're usually filming them, editing them pretty quickly, and then getting them out as quick as they can. So like those guys are working for like 24 or 25 weeks of the year. Like, it's crazy. Like, they put in a lot of work. So, but obviously these shows are made differently. It's all kind of like a movie production and then split up into the episodes.
Right. And oh man, they're gonna have to pay Colin Farrell a lot more money if they're gonna do a season 2.
Oh yeah.
And then like, because he currently hates the suit, and I know you said that they brought it down to 3 hours, but like,
yeah,
that still has to be such a pain in the ass, especially if you have to do shoots and then come for the next day, do shoots, come for the next day. Like, that's got to be so grueling. His balls got to be sweating by now. Like, it's got to be like so bad in that suit right now.
I listened to an interview with him, and he was saying that, you know, it's so hot in the suit that he's like drinking so much water because he's overheating, and they have like a thing called like the ice box on set. So the second he finishes the scene, he jumps into this tent that's like super cooled and everything, just to kind of get his temperature down and all. But yeah, like he says, he has to be pretty much like torn out of the suit, like in parts, to be able to go to the toilet and stuff. So yeah, like, you know, it's not ideal, I would say, for actors, but a lot of actors love that sort of stuff. You know, like they live for it. A lot of them like stage acting and doing like practical dressing up and all that sort of thing. Like, you know, to a lot of these actors, they're theater kids at heart, and that's like, you know, the ultimate for him. Like, and I know I've seen interviews with him before where he also says that, like, you know, looking in the mirror and not even noticing the person that looks back at you just makes it a lot easier to put on the accent and just be a different person, because you are a different person. You know, he's like, I don't recognize myself at all when I look in the mirror when I'm in that suit. Like how terrifying must that be? He says the only thing that's his are his hands. Everything else is fake. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not, you know, as long as you got your hands.
Yeah, but imagine like bursting in on your kids and your wife, like, or whatever, like, you know, it's like, hey, you'd be like, who the fuck is this guy?
Hey, I'm coming in here. Oh, I'm the Penguin.
Oh my god, bro, you nearly made me choke. That's hilarious.
Dude, well, like they could always fix it a little bit more, like maybe later on in another season they could be like, oh, okay, so he lost a little bit of weight and now he's in like a proper penguin suit. And then he's like got the top hat and whatnot, like just kind of really yucking it up for like the original design.
It'd be funny if he like got the shit kicked out by Batman or something, and then like when the next time we see him, he's like training and everything, and he's like, "I'm not gonna let him beat
montage."
Me. Yeah, 80s montage of him like losing a ton of weight. He's like, "I'm not gonna let that guy beat me again," and then like that's an excuse to get him out of the fat suit. That'd be so funny, man. That'd be cool. That'd be right,
dude.
I'd allow it.
And like we haven't even gotten to the point where like he's got contraptions yet, like because he's supposed to have his umbrella gun.
Yeah.
Like I want to see the wackiness of it, but at the same time keep it serious enough that we like it, but keep it silly enough that it's like, okay, that's the Penguin.
I think like an umbrella gun would be pretty, like, it's kind of grounded in this world if you think about like everything that Batman has, like especially in this movie. Like I was very kind of surprised to see like some of the tech that Battinson has in the movie, like, you know, the way he puts like the contacts on and he's able to record everything through the eye lenses and all. I was like, that's some fucking really cool tech. Like, so I'm and again, like, this is year 2 Batman as well, so like he's very new. He's like still learning the ropes. It's going to be very interesting to see where the next Batman movie goes. Like, do they do a time jump and they're into like year 6 or 7 or something, or, you know, is it just a literal continuation on? That'll be interesting to see. Yeah, because, you know, the tech is just going to get so much better. The Batmobile is going to get so much more badass, and the bikes and everything like that. Like, and the suit's going to get more evolved. And I'm excited. I want to see a Robin in this world as well. And yeah, like, there's just I'm really enjoying it. Like, I remember back to when I first saw it, I was still a little upset about the whole Snyder verse thing. And, you know, I'm a big Ben Affleck fan. Like, love him as Batman. Like, I arguably think he is the best the best Bruce Wayne.
The best like, Ben Affleck he could be.
Yeah, he is. I love Ben, but you know, like, I think he's the best Bruce Wayne, and, you know, love the comic accuracy of a lot of the stuff in those movies, like the, you know, the Dark Knight Rises and stuff. Like, you know, it's great. Like, you know, say what you want about Snyder, but he really got it. Like, when it came to Batman, like, he really did. Like, I've been seeing, like, again, I don't know if this is just algorithms trying to feed me stuff that they know that I'm interested in, but I always see these like side-by-side comparisons of like Ben Affleck in like a suit, and then it's like they had that exact panel in a comic or in like the animated series or whatever, and it's just like, fuck, the detail that they put into the development of that Bruce Wayne and Batman is actually crazy. It really is. Like, you got to tip the hat. Like, I know the movies weren't the best, but you got to tip the hat. Like, I love seeing that amount of care and dedication going into the creation of movies. Like, that's where I really nerd out. Like, you know, love it.
Yeah.
Okay, what's this? I'm glad you're not a Snyder fan that threatens people if they say that they like James Gunn movies. Look, I like them all. You know, I don't mind James Gunn. He's not that bad. I will be a little annoyed if he starts making the Superman movie into like a comedy and stuff. Like, that's not gonna really work. You know what I mean? So I hold judgment. But I liked the first Guardians movie. I thought that was good. I liked the Suicide Squad. His Suicide Squad movie was pretty good. I'm not shitting all over James Gunn on fucking Twitter like a lot of people are. Like, every time I open Twitter, it's like anytime there's any sort of like Superman news, like this week there was like a picture of him and Crypto, and so many people online were just like, you know, oh, Zack Snyder's Crypto was better, and you know, the Titans Crypto was better, and all this sort of shit. Like,
it's always like, gonna hit that. It's always gonna hit that green.
Calm down. Like, relax. Let's see the movie first before we fucking, you know, start shit and throwing bricks.
And I agree with Josh on this, by the way. Suicide Squad 2021. Yep. Easily the best DCEU movie. I had a great time. I thought all the characters were really fun to hang out with. You know, I'm not like a huge fan of like the current King Shark that they use. I think that they could maybe give him a bit more of a sentience. I think that in the comics he's actually a little bit more sentient, instead of just kind of a big dummy. But sometimes you need a big dummy.
It was kind of cool.
So are you calling him a big dummy?
Like, he sounds like a big dummy. I'm sure he's a very smart guy, but he just comes across that way. He's just a brute. Like, you know, like, I think if you were to put Stallone into like a kind of comic book as a character, that's a perfect just transition for him, like something like that. Or in Marvel, like, just have him as like the Thing. He's just a big brute, like, you know.
Bloodsport is cooler than Deadshot. You know what?
That is a hot take.
I honestly, I don't have enough evidence on my end to like really say whether or not I like either. As far as the movies, Deadshot for sure. Like, Idris Elba knocked it out of the park with that character.
Deadshot was played by Will Smith in the first one.
Yes, and then Bloodsport took over in the Suicide Squad.
Bloodsport is Idris's character.
Yes.
Yeah. I really like Deadshot, but only I like Deadshot from other things, not from that movie. So, like, not Will Smith's Deadshot. I prefer like the comic Deadshot, and I prefer him in like games, and even on like in like Green Arrow.
He was in Arkham City. Like, he was in Arkham City, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that worked really well.
Or was it Arkham Origins?
I never played Arkham Origins.
So Origins, I think, was the game where all the villains were like teaming up to go against Batman. They had this like fucking incredible cinematic trailer for it. I've always just said, because it's like him fighting Deathstroke, and then like Deadshot kind of comes into the fight during the trailer. It's like one of the best fucking things I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing. And I always said, when Joe Magliano got cast as Deadshot or as Deathstroke, I always kind of said, just recreate this trailer. Just do this in live action, and you are perfect. Just do a movie based around this, and it's golden. $1 billion movie, like, would be incredible. And Warner Brothers gonna Warner Brother, eh? They just couldn't get it done. Oh
yeah. You know,
Bloodsport's suit was better. Yeah, in the DCEU for sure. I kind of like the way like his like weapons come from like another dimension or something. I don't really understand it, but it's cool as fuck. Like, he kind of, I don't think they explain it in the movie, but I was reading about the character, and apparently, you know, the way he kind of like creates guns and shit. Like, he goes into like a pocket dimension or something and is able to like pull out all this tech, and that's how his guns are created in the comics and stuff. It's wild. It's wild.
Dude, you should look at the original design of Bloodsport. It is
Alex just knocked himself off the call by mistake there. He'll be back in a second.
How unprofessional of me.
Oh, you're fine. You were trying to share screen and you left the studio by mistake.
I kicked myself out.
I know exactly what you did, and I don't blame you because it's easy to do. Anyone who uses this software knows exactly what just happened there.
Yeah.
Go on, share it there. Carefully.
Oh, I don't have it ready now.
Oh, okay. No,
it got all screwed up.
It's fine. Yeah, no, I believe you. And I don't know. Like, it's the DCEU had its moments. Overall, it just wasn't it. They got in their own way.
Oh yeah.
And for sure.
I mean, what can you do? Just try to enjoy it the best you can. Just remember that it's not the one that you like.
Yeah, but like it's funny, like, because when you see it all, like, if you were to write out like all the movies that appear in the DCEU, like, I like a lot of them. You know, I have a lot of time for Man of Steel. Love that movie. The first Wonder Woman movie, fantastic. Batman versus Superman is not, the theatrical cut was not great, but there's like an ultimate cut, like a director's cut, which is a lot better. And the Zack Snyder Justice League is incredible in my opinion. And then like stuff like Blue Beetle was good. The Flash had a couple of okay moments. Aquaman 2, I actually went to see Aquaman 2 with a mate of mine, and like we had fun. Like, we enjoyed it. You know, it was a good laugh, and like we kind of went in like going like, this is the last time we're going to see a DCU movie. Like, you know, let's kind of just, this is it. This is the end. And it actually wasn't too bad. It was better than the first one in my opinion. I don't know how the first one did $1 billion. It's crazy. I don't get it. I really don't. In Gun we trust. To be confirmed. To be confirmed, in my opinion. But let's see what happens. Like, I fear that he's gonna make Superman like very corny, and I know Superman is a very corny character in a lot of comics and in the old movies and all that sort of stuff. I understand there's that whole side of Superman and Clark Kent and stuff, but I really kind of liked the tone of Zach's version of him, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "That's not Superman." It's, you know, he's not like that at all. But I kind of prefer that kind of tone. I'm down to see what Gunn does. Of course, I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna be there day one to watch it, and I'll go, like, you know, even it seems like it's a well-established universe as it kicks off. You know, he's got like loads of superheroes in it already. Like, they've cast Green Lantern. There's going to be multiple lanterns in it. You know, like the Lantern Corps is going to be like pretty much established already. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and like Hawkgirl's in it and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely intrigued.
I am too. I'm like, it's funny that my two favorite characters, like one from DC and one from Marvel, they're both green. Like, literally, I'm a huge fan of the Green Lantern. I think it's the design of their suits, the aspect of like all of their combat, like their mechanics and whatnot. Yeah, it all fits very well. It has to do with willpower. It doesn't have to do with, like, you know, it's basically like the human person. Like, that person has to have enough willpower to be like so powerful. Yeah. And for the most part, like, Hal Jordan is one of the most powerful, which is why, like, he's noted in like most comics. Like, I think as far as like what I grew up with, though, I grew up with Jon Stewart. And I thought he was a fantastic character. I really enjoyed like what he did in the JLA. And like, I'm really excited to see like what they do on the big screen now, because, you know, I feel like they're going to get their shit together. They're actually going to display this character for who he is and what he actually represents. And we're not going to get anything that's, you know, down to like nothing again. You know, I don't want it to turn into another, like, you know, comedy fest with like a smoke monster that gets killed by, you know, like, Parallax was done so horribly in that. Like, I never understood that. In both that situation and in the Rise of the Silver Surfer with the Fantastic Four, both like villains were smoke monsters. Yeah, I will never understand why they thought that was going to be an effective thing. Yeah.
Oh, bro, I don't know. I think that movie, like, obviously love Ryan Reynolds. I thought he actually played a kind of young Hal Jordan quite well, and I didn't think the CGI looked that terrible back for 2011. Like, I understand it took a look. It was like expensive to make at the time, and I think it just didn't do what they thought it was going to do in the box office. I don't per se think that it's Parallax's fault that the movie failed. Like, I think there's probably more good than there is bad in that film. I just think it just became a bit of a laughing stock when like Reynolds himself said he never watched it and all this sort of stuff, and he just himself starts poking fun at it, and that's just like, I think if the main actor of a movie is poking fun at the movie that he was in, like, that's the movie's dead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's if the person who's starring in the movie can't even say anything good about it, like, you know what I mean? Why is anybody else?
Right. And honestly, like, I would say that the CG wasn't terrible, but the mask was. Like, it was way too fucking bright. It was like, oh God, I can't look at that. And I would say, like, it wasn't so much Parallax as it was Hector Hammond. I think that character got hammed up so hard that I just couldn't take it seriously. The fucker was just literally in the chair.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, dude, like, chill.
Yeah, no, that was pretty fucked up. But Mark Strong was absolutely amazing in that film. And it's criminal that they didn't do something else with Sinestro. He was Sinestro.
Oh my God, that was
perfect,
so good,
bro. He was perfect. Like, if they did it, even like let him just go out on his own. Like, yeah, the fucking Green Lantern itself failed, but like, do a Sinestro movie or do something else. Like, let him pop up in something else. Like, he was so good. He was so good. It was crazy. James Gunn says that Superman isn't a comedy. Good. I hope so. But
good.
I kind of think even when James Gunn is being serious, he still throws jokes into it and stuff. So, I think I just hope he doesn't go to James Gunn with it, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that in a really negative way, but just I hope he kind of claws it back a tiny bit. You know what I mean?
He puts the gun down.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to move on to Agatha after this one, but so Josh just says, the thing that bugs me the most about Snyder's take on Batman was the whole killing thing and marking people with stuff. It's not so in their defense, I kind of understand where they're coming from, because it's like Superman and Zod have like destroyed Metropolis. Like, and when you see at the start of that movie, you see Wayne Enterprises fall to the ground and people dying left and right and all, and Bruce is retired at this stage, and it's like he has to come back, and the world has just been flipped upside down. Fucking Superman had never been established before. You know what I mean? He like, aliens didn't exist in this universe at the time, so it's like nothing is the same anymore. Do you know what I mean? And that's kind of where Bruce is in that universe. That version of Bruce is just like the real book's out the fucking window. Like, do you know what I mean? We have gods flying around now. You know what I mean? How do I stop them? What do I do? So I can kind of understand where it's just like, yeah, look, if I need to get information off a person, like, I'm going to beat the fuck out of him. I'm going to brand him. Who cares? Like, I kind of just think this Batman is just like completely fucking off the rails. Was it weird to see him killing people and all? Like, we talked about this last week, I think, actually, funnily enough. But when he's like bursting through the buildings and like, literally driving through cars and just obliterating like cars full of like goons and stuff. Like, yeah, like he's killing people left and right. But like, realistically, like, if you were to break down Christian Bale's version of him, I'm sure if you watch those movies frame by frame, I'm sure Bale's like bat tank is running people over too. You know what I mean? Like, it's, if you were to like fine tooth comb it, I'm sure you could probably find something there that you're like, that dude probably died. I'm sure you can, if you're gonna go that like serious with it. But
it was necessary.
Yeah. Like, like we're talking about a guy who dresses up as a bat and goes around and beats the absolute shit out of people. Like, you see, like some of the beatings that like Bruce hands down to people, like those people have to be like, in the real world, they'd be like paralyzed, dead from fucking blunt force trauma, all this sort of stuff. Like, so yeah, I don't know. I don't look at it with that much of a kind of microscope to be like, well, Batman shouldn't do this, and it's like, this is a different universe. Like, like what Snyder was trying to set up was basically the Injustice world.
Oh,
where,
so now it's fine because it's a different universe.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. 100%.
Stop.
But look, we're live nearly an hour. We haven't even talked about Agatha yet. And then I got a few other bits I want to talk about as well. So let's dive in because it's getting late on my side of the world here. So we can continue this chat next week if we have to.
Sure.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you being here, dude. Agatha episode 6. Man, talk to me. What did you think? Did you like this episode, or was this just more bullshit?
I gotta say, it started out kind of dull. It's started getting legs like halfway through, and then it dropped the ball again. I felt like it was just like a rehashing of everything that was going on. Which that I guess that's fine because you look at it from a different perspective and whatnot. But it just still makes it very hard for me to stay focused when you've already established to me that I don't care about these characters. A lot of like even the secondary characters that you see, like when you see Billy and you see Agatha, like as the main characters, and then you have God, I forgot who was Aubrey Plaza's name was in that one, but essentially like those are basically the big three, and then the others are just a waste of space at that point because now you have these big three characters that you want to like run with, and the rest are just like they just kind of exist. The only one that actually kind of mattered was the one lady with the mother who like created the record for the Witch Road. And you know, you see her in the like later on in the most recent episode as a cop, so it's like, okay, well, they're all just kind of like amalgamated as well within this area, and so they were essentially like taken in as, you know, given roles so that they can kind of just live amongst. But it just seems so convenient in my opinion, and I think it's kind of like it just makes me want to roll my eyes. But I would say like for Billy's character, I think what they were trying to do, what they're trying to do currently is, in my opinion, too much now. When they established that, you know, this was Billy Kaplan, I was like, okay, I'll take it.
This is
when they're
to stop you for 1 second. Did you notice that this is what I was kind of predicting from the start? So when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I like pretty much got it right. So I'd been saying since the start, Billy's like soul was going to go into another kid. And, you know, remember I was talking about this like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's pretty much exactly what happened.
Right. But these are two different stories that should have stayed separate because this actually exists within the comics. Billy Kaplan is a person. Billy Kaplan is his own person. Billy Kaplan's the real Wiccan. He's not like Billy Maximoff is a manifestation from Mephisto's soul, like parts of his shards of his soul manifested from that to create Wiccan and Speed. But they were considered Maximoffs at that time because they were based upon like what Wanda currently wanted. She wished for it. At this point, we have Billy Kaplan as literally Wiccan, who is somehow also possessed by Billy Maximoff, which I think is boggles my people. It's so, like, in my opinion, it's so dumb because you're not giving identity to either of them anymore.
Is Kaplan dead?
No, Kaplan is Wiccan.
But in this story, so you know the way at the car crash at the start, this was how I kind of understood it. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can correct me, or maybe we'll find out for sure. But I'm kind of thinking the car crash that happens, he dies, we hear the heartbeat slow down, he flatlines, and then Billy's soul goes into, Maximoff's soul goes into the body, and then he wakes up and he kind of doesn't really know who he is. When we see him walking into the house, like he doesn't recognize his house, doesn't really know who his parents are. My understanding of that was that the Wiccan character is gone and it's just Maximoff. And then he kind of has to just go on with his life. We do a 3-year jump and he's kind of just living, knowing he's not himself, but that he's somebody else, but he doesn't know who he is. And then like he's starting to pick, you know, as we see in the episode, he starts to kind of put it all together. That's the way I kind of perceived it, that the original boy is dead. He dies in the car crash, and it's only one. But then obviously when we see at the bar mitzvah, when he gets like his palm read or whatever, it's like, you're splitting into two personalities. It's kind of predicted that that's what's going to happen to him.
Right, but that also means that he's still alive, because you're down two roads. Mm-hmm. So that means that you have both souls within each other.
Yeah.
But that's what bugs me is that they couldn't just make Billy Kaplan himself, because Billy Kaplan is literally Wiccan in the comic books, and that they could have just portrayed it as like, that's Billy Kaplan, but he also wants to know who the original Wiccan was, because he has memories of that. But no, they have to play it as such, like, oh, what's your real name? Billy Maximoff. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. Like, it's such a kick in the nuts, dude. Like, you had it. You fucking, like, I was literally at the point, I'm like, you had it. You had me. You pulled me back in, and then you shit on me and said, get out.
Yeah.
It's not like it's like, I don't like this, because then now it's going to be like, well, his soul is going to have to leave and become the thing. And it's like, this is how they probably put Mephisto back into the play, because there's a soul there, and then they're going to take the soul out, and then it's going to be Mephisto, and it's going to be done. And like, it's just, it's going to piss me off, because it's just so, you're not even giving the character that should be given his role. And I may be wrong. Like, what if the next episode it's not that? Maybe he's just trying to play on as that, because he doesn't want to reveal, that Kaplan is still existent. It just feels so, like, it just feels so slimy. Like, like, yes, everyone knows of the Maximoff name, but you can't, like, you shouldn't introduce a character and give them their last name and then give them a new last name because you want it to be like reminiscent of the Wanda's character for Scarlet Witch. I feel like that's a more like upsetting and rude thing to do, because Kaplan is Wiccan. Billy Kaplan is in the comics. He is Wiccan. And Billy Maximoff was Wiccan through manifestation from Wanda, taking a soul shard from Mephisto. That makes sense, right? Like, so then you have that whole spiel. Then that's over. It's over. We saw it in the movie. So give Billy Kaplan his due. Bring him in. Wiccan's cool, and he's married to Hulkling, which I think is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like, it's such a cool ordeal. And like, that's what I was so interested in, is like, they were still basing it off the comic as they were going off, like, in terms of the character, like who the character is. And I know that some people may or may not have liked the fact that, like, he was in a relationship with a guy, but he is in a relationship with a guy in the comic. So it's like, you can't fault that. Like,
sure, we knew that from minute one. Like, when first scene we see him and he's getting like the missed calls from his boyfriend. Like, that wasn't a shock. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So seeing that, like, it's just, it's fine. I'm okay with it. Like, because I'm aware of it. Like, it's a thing. Ralph Boner, that was so good. That situation, I thought that it was fun to kind of bring him back. It's cool that he became like sort of a conspiracy theorist. He's like, I'm just trying to figure this thing out, trying to help you. Whoa, we'll get down, like, kind of that kind of thing, because he was taken in as well, like he was held against his will. So now he wanted to help out Billy. So I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. It's starting to come in, and so that's what I was saying. It was getting legs, and then it just lost me, like, by the end of it. So, like, I'm going to stop here. I want to hear your opinion now.
So first of all, sorry, just before I talk about it, I just want to, just what Josh said here. He asked, will Rhonda return? I believe she's going to be in Doomsday. One thing that I found quite interesting about this episode, like, this for me was hands down the best episode of the 6 so far. I don't know if they're going to have a better episode than this. This might be the peak of the show. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but this episode had a lot going on for me, which I was intrigued by. I liked the whole flashback to meeting the original Billy, seeing the accident, finding out that my kind of theory was right. I was kind of like, oh yes, let's go. I was like, I guessed this like weeks ago. I was like, hell yeah. So I was happy that I was kind of right about all that. Then, kind of seeing the start of the show again. I usually don't like when they go back and retell stuff again. Like when we saw him going into Westview to get Agatha and stuff. I always kind of feel like that's a bit of like lazy storytelling because it's like we're just reusing footage and stuff like that. But I liked how they made it a twist to we got to see what actually happened. So, like, you know, in the first episode, we're actually in Agatha's head, and a lot of it's not happening the way that we perceive it. So, like, in this show, in this episode, I thought it was like a nice little reveal that we actually find out that, oh, wait, Wanda maybe isn't dead. You know, her body wasn't found in Westview and all this sort of stuff. And it was kind of like, okay, this is kind of cool because it's like that was all kind of inside her head rather than actual facts. Like, you know, we know at the end of Multiverse of Madness, a mountain falls on her, so we presume that she's dead. But then this show, at the start of the show, they kind of confirmed that she was dead. So you're kind of thinking, oh shit, now maybe she's at the end of the road. But now it's like, actually, none of that happened at all. So you're kind of like, Wanda could be anywhere. She could just be out there. Like, I kind of thought that was kind of cool. It kind of has me thinking, which is good. The Ralph Boner stuff was cool. I felt so sorry for the character because like the way he kind of spoke about being controlled and stuff like that, like seemed like very traumatic to him and stuff like that. And Evan Peters is such a fucking incredible actor. Like it's even doing something like a tiny scene like that, he just blows it out of the water. He's so good. You know, I kind of am a little like kind of sad that he isn't Quicksilver because it's kind of like I'd love to see him as a speedster in the MCU, but maybe something will happen that maybe some multiverse tricks will happen and we might get him by the end. I think if I was working in the writer's room in Marvel, I'd be like, guys, we need to find a way to keep Evan Peters because he's just that good and everyone loves him as Quicksilver. And the whole boner thing, yeah, like it was an awful cruel joke that they played on us back in 2021 or whenever it was. And, you know, obviously if they could like maybe try and correct that some way, I think that'd be great because a lot of fans were pretty pissed off about that. Yeah, it was fantastic to see him. I think even like Agatha had her moments in this episode. I haven't really been fond of Agatha as a character in her own show, which is kind of a weird thing to say. Like it's rare that you don't really link too well with the main character, but you know, I've enjoyed people in the show more than her. But she kind of had a few good moments in this episode as well. Yeah, like I think the episode was really, really good. As I say, like it was definitely my favorite of the whole series so far. I'm definitely curious to see what happens next. You know, do we get to the end of the road and that's where Tommy is? And like, is Tommy a speedster or not? Like, I don't know. Like, answer me this: did Wiccan in the show? I can't remember WandaVision too well. Like, did Wiccan have those magic powers in WandaVision that he uses in this show?
I don't recall, to be honest. I think it might have been minor.
I think he does, if I'm not mistaken, because isn't there a part in the show when Sword come in and like he uses like magic to like throw up shields and block shit and all that sort of stuff? So like I think he did have very similar Wiccan magic as he's kind of showing off in the show now. Also, another cool thing I like that he can't control his magic as well. Like obviously, you know, Agatha's like, "Come on, attack me," and he's like, he can't do it, and she's kind of like, "Oh, you know, you need to control your powers. You don't know how to use them yet." And all. Like I thought that was a kind of a funny dynamic as well. Like, but yeah, loving it.
Yeah,
like this episode, yes, fantastic. Rest of the series,
essentially, what they're trying to do is make it so that Wiccan is learning from Agatha rather than Scarlet Witch learning from Agatha.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like becoming a thing where like, well, we didn't do it in this fashion. We made Agatha a villain, so let's toss it over to Wiccan and do that. I'm okay with that. I just wish that they would be a little more explicit about like who they're actually trying to represent in this. It's still very much like a toss in the air. It doesn't, like, to me, it doesn't make sense to have like the split souls and whatnot. I think it worked better if he was his own, and that he could essentially hold his own, and that he's still learning his ways, and that he just wanted to kind of like, I think it would have been better if he just wanted to kind of learn like who Scarlet Witch was, and as they're going down the road, maybe find out like where she is, and get to learn more things from her. Because in the comics, like Wiccan is, his biggest fan is Scarlet Witch, but that's not his mom. Like it's, you know, but they're aware that in some cases, like, they have a link to Wanda, due to the chaos magic that Wiccan can use. So like it just kind of brings this idea that, you know, it'd be great if it was that, but as far as I'm concerned, it just kind of like makes it feel as if they're just trying to put William Maximoff in as a crutch because people wouldn't get the resemblance.
Yeah,
but that's fine because that's not him. It's Billy Kaplan. It should be like something associated. It's like I understand that I may have been, you know, associated or something. Just give it more association. Give the character some legs to stand on, because at this point now, because of the split soul situation, it feels a bit like rushed, in my opinion. Like they're trying to throw in things from Mephisto so that you get kind of the hints of Mephisto, and then have Billy Kaplan so that you can get your Young Avenger thrown out, because like they like we needed Young Avengers way before we even got to Civil War. Like they're so important. Like the you know, Young Avengers, Runaways, East Coast, West Coast, like North, South, like all the Avengers like chapters, I believe, are already like established and whatnot. Like you have all these different, you know, sectors and things that you can go around. And so, but they've kind of like really smushed it together because it's so hard to kind of bring that all together. Marvel has like the largest amount of characters in comics. I don't know if it's like in the world, but like they have over 70,000 characters to run with. So
it's
like
insane.
Dude, it's like it's insane, but like they have so many stories that they can tell. And but because they've established so much of Earth's mightiest heroes as these like 10 characters, it's so hard for the rest of the world to accept like any of the new ones, especially if they're not trying to go by the books and give us something to work with. So like that's why I get so passionate about like the fact that they're trying to put out Wiccan, but it doesn't feel like his own character. It feels like it's two characters, which, I mean, maybe that's the whole point of it, but I'm just not taking it that way.
Yeah. Josh asked in the chat, which maybe I'll let you answer this first because you're on a roll right now, but it's like, how do you think this show's going to end?
The show is going to end. Hold on. There we go. The show's going to end with them reaching the end of the road, just the two of them. But wait, Aubrey Plaza comes back.
Yeah, just in the nick of time.
Yeah, just to kind of like stir things up. And, you know, then the Salem 7 or whatever the fuck they're called come in, and it's like, oh, it's going to get chaotic and shit. And then all of a sudden, Billy's like, I can do this now, and just starts casting shit like crazy. Chaos happens. Angry. Yeah, I'm gonna go insane and start casting chaos magic. They all fucking die, and then Agatha's like, "That's what I needed." And then she starts trying to take everything in. I need all that power, and he's like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna give you the change, and I'm gonna take your power." And then she's like, "Ah, no!" And then it's like, it's gonna end up in a fucking fire of like Agatha's back into her little hidey hole because she lost her powers. Billy takes over. Now he's got all the power he needs, and he goes to find Wanda, and Wanda's sitting on a chair somewhere, and she's like, "I've been waiting for you, Billy, my son." And he's like,
"What?" But it's not Elizabeth Olsen. It's like we only see the back of a head, and it's just an extra, and it's like he puts the hand on the shoulder and credits or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Random.
My theory the whole time watching the show up until this week, my theory was that he gets to the end of the road and Wanda would be there, and you know, maybe she is dead and he kind of resurrects her or brings her back, or brings her essence back into the universe or some shit like that. Now I'm kind of thinking like that it's going to be Tommy that's going to be at the end, or Mephisto, and Mephisto's like, I have the other part of your soul, it's Tommy, and you know, it's really my soul or whatever. Because like I think, didn't we hear like months ago that they cast Sacha Baron Cohen to play Mephisto? It's like they have the actor in place, so it's like if you've cast him, like this is the perfect place to use him, you know. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sacha Baron Cohen at the very end and he is Mephisto, and then we find out, you know, I've got your brother and blah blah blah, and your mother's here with me too, or whatever the fuck, and then, you know, we have to see Billy go somewhere. Like I don't know where this show goes from here. Like, does this story I don't think continues on the big screen for sure. No, like it has to continue somewhere on Disney Plus, and I think maybe Vision Quest is the next kind of logical place for it to continue. I don't really know. Like, does Billy get his own show? Probably not. Like, I think a show based around Agatha was sketchy enough to do. You know what I mean? Like, I think the show has been surprisingly good, doing like surprisingly well. But, I don't know if they take that gamble again a second time around where it's like, let's do a B character of a B character's show. That's a sequel. It's like
that's why they're trying to kick Young Avengers. Like, you can really feel it now. Like, it's coming in. Like, the whole Kate Bishop thing, the whole like, I've been looking for you. We're trying to create a team, and so they're trying to recreate that whole Avengers thing by creating the Young Avengers.
I think like they just confirmed Hawkeye season 2 as well, and Kate Bishop returning for that. Maybe that's where it takes over, because maybe something happens where Billy goes back to 616, and then he meets up with Kate Bishop, and then gets introduced to the team, and Young Avengers forms.
Yeah,
maybe that's what happens.
Oh yeah,
that or Vision Quest or both or something. But I don't see this going onto the big screen.
Yeah,
I think Young Avengers will be a show as well. Sorry, and be a movie. I think it works like that.
I think it might, but I think it should be a movie, only for the fact that like they are kids, they need to learn from their mistakes, and we have to have that moment. We saw it in Homecoming. We saw that Peter was fucking up so much that Iron Man took his suit.
Yeah.
You have to have that downfall. Dude, it's a good one. It's definitely
I love it. It's a real comfort movie for me, like, because we have it on Netflix over here, and I just always kind of, if I'm chilling with the family and stuff like that, and we're all kind of just winding down, like I throw it on all the time, because my son just loves Spider-Man as well, but he's not like, he doesn't have the attention span to sit through full movies yet, but like, he'll watch the first half an hour of him jumping around New York as Spidey and stuff, and he loves it. Like, but I think what's going to happen is the Thunderbolts movie is going to be a real tester. I think the Young Avengers is on hold right now, and I think they really want to see how Thunderbolts is going to do, because Thunderbolts is kind of like Marvel's Suicide Squad, basically. Let's call it what it is. Like, it's kind of like, the villainous team getting together, ran by Val, who's the Amanda Waller of Marvel. Like, it's basically just their version of Suicide Squad. I think they really want to see how well that performs in the box office. Now, if it does really well, I think maybe they might pull the trigger on a movie, but I think if it doesn't do with the numbers that they wanted to do, I would say they have a backup kind of TV script that they can roll it out as. Yeah, I think that's I think that's the correct business decision to do. Yeah,
it was either Thunderbolts or the Dark Avengers.
They can't be putting out shit right now,
right? Yeah, because it's starting to fall. It's really falling in.
It really is. Like, even just I don't want to say too many negative things about Joker 2, because we seem to have upset a few people on the internet over our comments in the last video. But
dude, like, by all means, like, I understand that, like, listen, I understand that if you really like that movie and you felt like we didn't give it justice because we didn't watch it, I'll do you a thing. I will go watch it. If it's still available in theaters, I'll go watch it. If it's available to stream, I'll fucking watch it.
I will definitely stream it 100%.
But I will tell you this, like, we did not give it any sort of rating because we couldn't. We weren't going to watch it. We weren't planning on watching it because we didn't really think it was going to be an effective show. And so far it's really showing in the numbers. So like, that's what we took from it. We took the box office numbers. We were just trying to portray it like we're surprised that it hit that low too, because, even though it's a Joker movie that failed, it was a DC movie that should have at least gotten some amount of motion and been like somewhat good. Yeah. Even if it was at like 60%, that still would have been good for what it was, because it tried to do something different, but it was so bad that, the box office, critics, everyone, like, it just seems like everybody universally didn't like it. So like, but now I'm curious. Now I want to know, like, was it truly that bad? Was it really like, maybe it's something that I actually enjoy in the long run, but it's hard to tell. Yeah. But in my opinion, in my heart, literally in my thoughts, I was like, it just doesn't. I just don't know if I care enough to really want to see it move
Yeah.
forward, especially if they're going to make it into a musical. It was just like, I don't
Yeah.
know, man. Like at first I was like, yeah, yeah, and then over time I'm like, just I
Yeah.
don't know. Like it just doesn't fit the style that we usually see with other movies. Like if Joker 1 was a musical and then Joker 2 was a musical, I'd
Yeah.
understand that.
Of
But
course. Yeah.
this was a huge 180, and I think it just took a big risk, and I still commend it for taking that risk, but the numbers the numbers show, like,
Yeah.
but it could be a cult
Well,
classic. Watch it become a cult classic.
true. Very true. It could have a really strong digital release. It could, you know, stream up somewhere for free on Netflix or somewhere like that, and then just blows up. Like we've seen Netflix turn shows that, you know, might have been successful but turned around. You know, I take Suits as a prime example. Like Suits was a successful show when it aired, but it got put up on Netflix and just had a second life that was even more successful than the first. You know, it's insane. You know, like, even going up on something like Netflix can really change the course of of a film or a
Right.
TV show. It's crazy. But yeah, look, you know, like I went back and rewatched that video after those comments came in, and you know, I was kind of just like, did we say something bad about the movie? Like, or, you know, were we shitting on the movie itself? And like, we weren't really. Like, we just kind of, maybe we were laughing about a few things, like, which maybe sounds as if we're kind of shitting on things, but you know, like, watch 20 minutes of any one of our episodes, we are constantly just laughing and having a good time. You know, it doesn't
Right.
really matter. It doesn't really matter what the topic is. We're just like cheery dudes, and you know, we just get on to just shoot the shit and have fun. So
Yeah.
you know, we might be talking about something that's really grim, but we're gonna probably sound like we're having fun because we are. That's just the way it is. And the numbers don't lie. Like, you know, opinions are opinions and everyone's entitled to them, but the numbers are fact. And that's just the way it is. You know, 81% drop off in week 2. We are now in week 3, and I think globally it's at like less than 200 million. It hasn't even made back its initial money yet. 3
Oof.
weeks in, like, and that's like numbers talking business. That's not good. You know,
Yeah.
Warner Brothers have probably written this off as a failure already. You know what I mean? Like, I can guarantee you, they don't give a fuck about this film anymore. They're like, it was a fail. We move on to the next thing. Like, they're already done, guaranteed.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be some hardcore fans like the dude who left those comments on that video. If you like it, and if he's listening to this, you know, sorry we rubbed you the wrong way, but again, I'm reporting the facts. You know, I
Right.
don't have an opinion on the movie because I haven't seen it yet. I even said in the film, I was going to tag the time that I said it, but I even said in the film, I said, I'm looking forward to actually watching it when it releases digitally. I said, I just cannot justify the price. Like, cinema tickets are insanely expensive here right now. I booked Venom 3 and it was $50 just for the seats. I haven't even bought any food to go see that film yet. That's going to be another $30 for food. And if we go for dinner before the movie or after the movie, like, that's $120 date night. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a lot of fucking money, bro. Like, you know, I'm not short for fucking money, but you know, to go and sit and watch a movie and eat some food, that's a lot of fucking money, especially if you do it a couple of times a month. And I just feel that movie just is not worth my money.
Yeah.
So I'll watch it. I'll
And
watch it for free. So that's just the way it is.
and by all means, like, we also want to reiterate, whatever comments you have, please, like, even if you think we're wrong, if you think we're right, if you think we're stupid, we're smart, you know, whatever, give us some comments, tell us what you think, because it feels good to know like what kind of feedback we get,
Yeah,
because like
absolutely.
we're not like full on we know everything. It's just, you know, it's nice to get like a little bit of additional information if there were things that happened, like maybe something happened during filming that they had to make changes for that didn't really sit well with the design of the movie as a whole, and so therefore it like reached, like, it didn't go the exact way that they wanted it to, and they just had to shove it out because they already spent so much money on it. Like, you never know.
That happens so often as well
Mhm.
in cinema and in gaming and everywhere, in TV, everywhere. Like, the big wigs, the suits get involved, and it's like, let's just put it out, but oh, it's not ready. But you know, it has to be out now. We've spent too much money. That happens so much, you know, and like, projects do suffer because of it. I don't know if that's the case in this situation. I don't think it is. And to be honest, you know, I saw a lot of TikToks about it when it first came out, and I see a lot of people talking on Twitter and stuff. And so many comments that I saw were people like, "This is a musical," and what that tells me is that people loved the first movie, but don't live on Twitter and in the comic world like we do, talking about news and all this sort of stuff. So they don't know. Like, we knew this was a musical a year ago. Do you know what I mean? The second they cast Lady Gaga, they announced this is going to be a musical. And I think half the fan base probably went, "Ooh, musical, what the fuck?" And then other people were like, "Oh, cool, a musical. Lady Gaga, brilliant. She's fantastic. They're going to make it cool. The two of them are going to lose their minds together in Arkham and, whatever. We're going to live inside their heads." And that's where I was with it. And I'm like, and maybe that's what it is. And maybe I'll enjoy it when I watch it eventually. I just didn't, when it came around to the movie coming out, I just kind of said to myself, it's getting so expensive for financial reasons. I'm just like, I just can't justify it. I will watch the movie. Maybe I'll enjoy it. Maybe we'll make a video when it comes out digitally and we're going to both say we really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That might happen. But, I think what a lot of people and a lot of the failure of the movie was that I don't think that they really pushed out that it was a full-blown musical as much as they should have. They should have probably marketed it as a full musical film. The whole thing is a musical, because I think, the way that they put out the trailers and stuff like that, it doesn't really look like a musical in the trailers. And then, people had heard maybe, oh yeah, there's going to be a few songs in it. And then maybe they thought like, we get 3 or 4 songs and then the rest of it's a movie. But I think when people actually went in and sat through the first half an hour, 45 minutes of the movie, realized the whole thing is a full-blown musical, and then I think a lot of people stood up and walked out of the film, and that's what everybody heard about online. So when that news starts traveling after week 1, people are like, well, I'm not going to waste my money going to see that. I'm not going to enjoy it. I don't like musicals. So that's what happened, I think.
Yeah.
And again, as you say, fair play to them for taking the shot. Like, I'm sure the storyboards and all, they probably thought they had a hit. Like, I know the director, what's his name? Todd Phillips, is it? I think he's taken the failure of this movie very seriously. Like, he's kind of shocked that it's done as bad as it has, and he's kind of said he's never going to work with DC again. And it's kind of sad, because I'd say making the movie, like, he probably thought they were onto a winner, and then the fan base just don't eat it up. Like, there's that really famous interview. It reminds me of that time when I don't know if you ever saw that interview with Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, when they were sitting literally in an interview and they hadn't heard that Batman versus Superman was a flop yet. They hadn't heard, like, the initial screenings were coming out and the initial reviews were coming out, and the two of them are sitting in and thinking, oh, we can't wait for people to see it. And in the interview, they kind of hear, oh, people have seen it and the first reviews are out and they're not good. And the two lads are sitting there like, thinking that, like, they've made a cult classic. It's Batman versus Superman. Obviously, the movie that they made, like, obviously their experiences on set and everything were like obviously amazing, I'd say. And a lot of that movie does, like, look brilliant. And getting to see, like, the first trailer where you see there's like the two of them getting, like, Bruce and Clark getting introduced to each other and all, like, it was just, the hype around it was so good. And when they heard that it was flopping, like, the look on their faces was just like, wow, what the fuck. Yeah, it was crazy. Yep. Absolutely crazy. And, like, I'd say that's probably what Todd Phillips feels like, with this movie. He's like, I thought I made a great movie. And now it's just like, wait a minute, everyone hates this movie? What the fuck?
So it basically did a Taika Waititi situation where, like, because Todd Phillips did both Joker 1 and 2. So like it wasn't like he didn't do the first one and he did the second one and changed things up. He did the first one.
Oh yeah.
Like, so I don't know why he wanted to change the formula, but apparently it didn't work out.
He directed the Hangover. So, like, he's been involved in, like, comedies and stuff. And then he goes and makes Joker 1, which is, like, dark, gritty. And it's like, okay, that becomes, like, a massive success, had, like, very little budget, turns into, like, $1 billion movie, like, smashing success for Warner Brothers. And then they go and make a musical for the second one. It's such a weird move, like, from a business point of view. It's a crazy move. And I'd love to talk to him and just be like, where was everybody's head at? Like, why did you do this? Like, where were your heads at? I'd love to know.
And I think that what they could have done to kind of make a sort of creative look of it, and I think this would have cost like a fuck ton, even just to do it, like, again, was that create the second movie, do it as if you did the first movie. Then once it's got, like, a ton of revenue coming in, you go, hey, so we had another script in mind, and so we're going to so we've created this opera style of this movie. And then if it's a flop, it's like, well, at least we still have this good one keeping us afloat. You know, it still could have been something of its own. It's just it's tough. Like you really, like, if you're going to take a shot like that, by all means, this could have been your last one, and you'd have been like, I'm out after this, so I might as well go out with a bang. But who knows? Like, who knows what was on the that makes too much sense.
Yeah, Warner Brothers and maybe Sony alike, they don't like to think logically. That's for sure. They really don't. Like, they're allergic to making money, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah, they really are. Like, again, you know, we harp on about it every fucking week, but it's like you have 80 years of source material that you can use to make some of the best stories ever told and just convert them to big screen monsters in the box office. And they just don't. Why is the budget $200 million? I was talking to somebody about this today, right? So I was in the gym. There's a dude who's a trainer in my gym who hopefully I'll get him into the podcast at some point, but I'm working slowly. But basically, he's a big nerd as well. I'm like, this, he belongs here. But we had this conversation today, and it was like, you know, I always kind of say, like, there has to be some sort of like money laundering or something happening, because like these shows shouldn't cost the money that they're costing to make. This movie, I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know where that 200 million went. It's not going on Lady Gaga. You know what I mean? Joaquin Phoenix is an incredible actor. He's not getting 100 million to be in a movie. He's not Robert Downey Jr. Do you know what I mean? Like the money has to be going elsewhere. Look at Secret Invasion. The show was basically shot in warehouses in the UK. Like there was nothing in that show, but that was like 250 million. The Acolyte was like another 200 million. Like there's all these shows that are just like these crazy high budgets, and they just don't seem to be putting out quality. I don't know where the fucking money's going. It really does feel to me like it is a scam. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's insane. I can't explain it. Like, how is the CGI from 2007 better than the CGI today? But the stuff is like costing more money now than it was back then. Like, because you could say inflation, but I don't think that's actually the answer.
It's because of time, effort, and whether or not it's shot during the day or night. Because you can get away with a lot of CG that looks terrible if you do it at night, as opposed to doing it during the day. But when you have to do it during the day, you have to give every single bit of your effort to make it look as if it was fine. But it's it's so much more difficult because you can't hide some of the things that were going on. Like, so that's why I really like Blue Beetle, because it had a lot of CG effects, but a lot of it was shot at night. Yeah. And it in my opinion, looked great. Yeah. If we were to see it during the day, it probably had tons of flaws.
Yeah. So it's good to leave some stuff to imagination, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it takes effort, and you have to be really good at it. From what I understand, like there are videos that you can watch where like some people are doing like breakdowns of, you know, what was good CG, what was bad CG, why they did this and why they did that. And it's actually quite interesting. So I highly recommend, like, if you don't know anything about CG effects and how they work within both the daylight and the nighttime, check it out. It's really interesting stuff. Like, if you were to watch, you know, any of the older stuff, like if you watch Iron Man 1, the final fight was during the nighttime, so they had a lot of breathing room to showcase the Ironmonger and the Iron Man like fighting as they like start shooting up towards you know, the atmosphere. And so like you're not really getting that much artifacting because it's like it's hidden within the shadows. It's getting it gets colder, so it's easier to just kind of put frost over the characters and make it look like they're getting colder and colder. And so, you know, that's kind of like a small kind of thing you can put to it. And then you see the Incredible Hulk, where like they shot during the day, they shot Hulk, and I'll be honest, I thought it was pretty good what they did. They didn't do too bad of a job. There might have been a couple things here and there, but like not bad. They took their time with it.
I think time is maybe a factor. I think, like, it's not technology, right? Like, unless it's just technology is a crutch now and they're like maybe getting lazy with it, using too much AI, that sort of thing. But back in like 2008, 2007, I always kind of think back to the first Transformers movie with Shia LaBeouf. Like, I again, being a little nerd at the time, like was like kind of following the making of that movie and heard that the CG designers, every time there was like a car to robot transformation, that took like a team of 30 developers like a month to do each transformation. Like that's insane. Like I can guarantee you they're not doing that now. There's no way, with the amount of like people that are needed to work on all these different shows. Like we heard about this 2 years ago. Like, you know, people were striking in Marvel and stuff because they were working 18-hour days and all this crazy shit.
Yeah.
Because it's just every single project now needs special effects designers and all this sort of stuff. Like, you know, there's no kind of practical use really in Disney and Marvel and all this stuff. Everything is CG now. So, you know, it's like, is it the manpower is not enough? There's too much work. The hours aren't there. You know, the time just isn't there anymore. Maybe they're using AI and they're kind of trying to, you know, instead of like going and working on something from the ground up by hand, they're using AI to kind of take shortcuts because they have to. You know, yeah, COVID like changed the whole ideology of the workforce and everything. You know, people now realize, you know, the whole kind of work/home balance, that whole thing is flipped upside down on my side of the world anyway. I can't really speak for you guys in America, but you know, everybody kind of, you know, a lot of people were, you know, sitting in traffic for 4 hours a day to get to sit in the office 5 days a week because they had to be there. Now everyone's like, you know, fuck this. I'm going to work from home. I could do my job from home. I'm going to save 4 hours of my day to commute, to hang out with my family or go to the gym or be with my friends, whatever. I think the whole kind of attitude towards work has really changed especially in the office jobs. You know, if you're a delivery driver, it is what it is. Your job hasn't changed, but you know, just I work in IT. You know, that's the kind of change I've seen in the world. You know, so I think all that plays a factor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd say these big studios back in like 2008, they probably had a big office and everybody went to the office and you sat there for your 12-hour shift and you just worked on CGI for 12 hours. You went home, slept for 6 hours, came back in, did the whole thing again. And now it's like, you know, everyone's working from home. There's probably a lot of CGI, like a lot of AI and everything involved. So I don't know. I can't answer the question. I've thought about it for a long time, to be honest. Like how these budgets are so high, how the quality is so bad. Like there's so many memes around the internet about it as well. Like you see it all over the place. Like how is the CGI? Like I always see the one they compare like Pirates of the Caribbean, you know, with the squid dude. Like that just looked so good, and that was like 2006. And then they have like the Love and Thunder clip of the, you know, the the hologram, the floating head of the Andel's son or whatever. And it's like, how does this in 2023 look so shit compared to something that came out in 2006? Like I always see that kind of comparison, and there's so many others. Like you can just pick whatever you want, but like there's so many of them. But yeah, I really don't understand it. You know, you hear some of these budgets and you're just like, how? Like the first Deadpool movie, I know Ryan Reynolds didn't pay himself and all this sort of stuff. How much money would he have got really? Like, you know, but like the budget for that movie was like 60 million. And the movie looks fantastic. Do you know what I mean? It looks better CG wise than most of the stuff that's out today. And they did that for 60 million. Like how much would have Ryan Reynolds have made himself off that movie? Like if he got paid full 20 million at most, I'd say. Not even maybe. I'd say maybe he would have got paid like maybe 6 or 7 million or something like that. Like, so that brings it up to less than 70. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's still so cheap, but looks incredible.
So that's the thing is, so in terms of like salaries, not only did Lady Gaga get paid 12 million, Joaquin Phoenix got paid 20. The director got paid 20 as well.
Wow.
So that's a quarter of the budget.
Do the salaries come out of the budget of the making of the film as well, though? That's something that I've never really known for 100%. Because it's like, you know, the way you talk about, like why I think this as well is because take, for instance, Infinity War or Endgame. Endgame's probably a better example. Think about the amount of like A-list actors that are in Endgame. And we know that like Downey himself is getting like 75 million for that movie. So like the budget then, if you take like Hemsworth and Tom Holland, all these actors, Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlett Johansson, everybody, like the list is fucking so long in that film. Like and then like the Russos and everybody, Feige, everyone's getting paid. Do you know what I mean? The budget then should be over like $1 billion if you think about it, because then they have to make the movie on top of paying everybody. So I don't think salaries are actually part of the budget of the film. Crazily enough, I don't think so. I'd love to talk to somebody in Hollywood and get an official answer on this, but
Right.
like
I
it's
just
always those
searched it.
big Marvel movies. Go on, tell me, is it?
Yeah, it's from what I'm reading, it does, like, it's supposed to cover the salaries of everyone involved in making the movie. So the budget is tied, like the salaries are tied within the budget.
So what was the budget for Endgame? If you have Google open there, just Google it.
Jesus, Endgame budget.
I don't think it's going to be more than 300.
It is 356 million.
Okay, so 350 million. Let's call it 360 million. Like Downey got like 75 of that. And like, would you say the rest of the actors combined got another 75? So then you're at 150. So half the budget is on salaries.
Yeah, it's usually accounts for about 40 to 50%.
That's insane. That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, like, Downey got 15 million for Spider-Man: Homecoming, and he only shot 8 minutes of footage for $15 million. I remember seeing a meme when that came out, and it was just like, no wonder they killed him off. He got too expensive. They couldn't afford him anymore. 8 minutes work. No, I know obviously it's more than 8 minutes work, but 8 minutes screen time for 15 million. Insane.
So it looks like for Endgame we have RDJ 75, Scarlett Johansson 15 mil, Chris Evans 20 mil,
nice.
Chris Hemsworth 15 mil.
Wow.
Jeremy Renner 15 mil. Mark Ruffalo 15 mil. Samuel Jackson 6 mil.
Obviously I love Robert Downey Jr. I think, I'm delighted that he gets that much money, but how has he gotten that much money? Like, that's insane. Like, his deal is just wild. Like, he's making 6-7 times more than a lot of these actors who, in my opinion, some of them are like as big, like caliber wise, as him as an actor. Like, I know he's a great actor, and he kind of like started the MCU, but it's like,
and he's ending it.
Yeah, but I don't know if he deserves that much bank. Like, it's insane amount of money. It's crazy.
He just had good lawyers, good negotiators, good people that that could just get him in. And
you think he's on the same money to come back as Doom?
No, I wouldn't say so, because it's a completely different character. But I would say it's going to be like probably, I would say 40.
Yeah,
I'd give him 40,
50 per movie.
Oof, Jesus. And imagine if the first movie does well, then he's going to renegotiate.
Yo, Blake, welcome in. He's the founding father character. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, he started, and as Alex said, kind of ends the MCU as well. So yeah, look, I'm so happy for RDJ. Like, he's making bank, and fair play to him. But it's a bit wild when like Evans, for example, who would be like as important to the MCU in my opinion as Iron Man, like Captain America is as important, and he's getting a fifth of the money that RDJ is getting. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. But it really cements the idea that they were really trying to push Iron Man to be the leader all along. Captain America is one, but like even in the animated shows, like it really pushed, like Captain America always wanted Iron Man to take the mantle if he ever had to go. Like, it's just, he was next in line. And so like they kind of pushed him into that role as time went on. And finally he got his, like, his final goodbye, essentially.
Yeah. So, look, it's after midnight here where I am in the world. I want to watch this Creature Commandos thing just before we go. So we're going to do a little live reaction to it just before we end the stream, and just kind of see what we think. Team Cap, facts. I was Team Cap the whole time. Civil War, I was Team Cap the whole time. 100%. So,
and I know this is like completely off subject. I know this was like way back then. I wanted to kind of point this out earlier. When Joshua said I prefer DC character lineups because of the more absurd characters like Polka Dot Man and Catman. Dude, listen.
You're gonna get him going here.
Listen, Marvel. No, we have Elf with a Gun, Mr. Fish, Stegron the Dinosaur Man, Gibbon, Ogro the Unconquerable, Lady Stiltman, any of the headmen like that you see. It's we have Hypno Hustler.
Yeah, no,
we have 8-Ball. We've got them all, buddy. Like we're
no honest,
strangers.
DC do as well. Like there's some absolutely wild characters out there as well. Like, it's insane. Like sometimes like I'll be flicking through a comic book and like some of the shit you see on the page, you're like, what is this? And like you're like, this could never work on the big screen. Like so
right.
I tip the hat to James Gunn for that, because like he did kind of put some crazy characters in his movie. And I kind of feel like he's going to do that again in his DC. Like, you know, the fact that he's doing Mr. Terrific off the rip, like day one, he's doing Mr. Terrific is it's a bit wild.
Dude, did you know that Donald Glover is going to be Hypno Hustler in the next like Spider-Man movie?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That's sick, dude. That's sick.
It's going to be so good because he first appeared in the Spectacular Spider-Man number 24. And so like it's just like Donald Glover's like, I'm down to do it.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So good.
Anyway, let's watch this, do a quick reaction to it, and I might head off after that, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course.
You found yourself in the middle of an international incident.
Oh, princess.
Animation style off the rip.
Ooh, I like it.
The United States is in the business of saving the damn
Turn it down a
world.
bit so we can hear us talking.
Any means necessary.
That is the Amanda Waller from the DCEU, by the way.
Congress said we can't use
Dude, Waller is just getting work.
Yeah.
These assholes aren't human.
I gotta finish Isekai.
We should call her the bride.
I was born here.
Invincible vibes, facts, big time.
Ooh, that's so cool.
Why are you doing this? It's business.
What is that thing? The weasel. You know
Okay.
it has what
They had to
Weasel.
throw in Weasel.
Of course.
That's Nina Mazursky. Last one
this
is G.I. Robot.
Cheers to the timber.
I know you all aren't exactly enthusiastic about this mission.
I didn't realize I had a choice.
You said you wanted me to be a hero.
Not like that.
This looks good.
Until we find out.
Stacked
the truth
voice cast.
about our
Facts.
We're supposed to be on the same damn team.
G.I.
Friend Nina.
And this looks great.
Shish kebab.
Oh, it's gonna be. Oh, yes.
You need therapy.
This commentary actually stands. The more we're watching,
Oh yeah.
very invincible. Like
You wanted monsters. You got monsters.
Die, Nazi.
He's not a Nazi.
oh, okay. I love Brillo.
Holy shit, that's gonna be a good one.
Dude, that looks great.
It is.
Did you see actually talking trailers as well? Did you see that trailer for the Doom Prophecy show? It looks really good.
No.
Yeah, looks really, really good. Check that one out. Sean Gunn's playing Weasel in G.I. Robot. He's cool. I like Sean Gunn.
Oh my god. Josh mentioned one of the it's what's that wrestler that they're gonna make into a movie from the Spider-Verse?
I don't know.
Like we talked about it a long time ago. I just can't remember the name of it. Do you remember? It's like it's like I think he's like a Mexican or Spanish wrestler. And he's like,
oh yes. I think they scrapped that production. No,
did they?
Yeah, I think they scrapped it. It was meant to be like a Sony movie.
Yeah. I like as soon as it popped in my head, I'm like, I totally remember that, but I haven't heard anything from it since.
That trailer looked interesting. I'll definitely watch that show. That is like the kickoff of the DCU apparently. which is an interesting take for the first project of the DCU. But I'm a big Invincible fan, so I think it's going to be good.
Right. El Muerto.
Yeah,
That's his name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grillo is not only playing Rick Flag Senior. He's doing multiple live action projects with Gunn, including Legacy. Who is he playing in? Like,
awesome.
is he actually Rick Flag Senior in live action as well as in animation? Because I know James Gunn had mentioned something that, you know, he's like, in the DCU, you're going to see video games, you're going to see animations, you're going to see live action, but like the dude like David Cornsweet who plays Superman will be Superman in each of the projects. So that's something that I do like. I like the fact that, you know, we're going to potentially see some stories told in animation that are going to be linked directly to the movies and continuations. And then you might get to play like a Superman game in a couple of years' time that's like, you know, directly takes place after the movies and stuff like that. Like that shit sounds very cool. Like that's what like, you know, a cinematic universe and like a, you know, a connected universe should be, which is pretty fucking cool. Yeah, he's playing Senior in both live action and animation. Like that's
nice.
Yeah, that's James Gunn is cooking. If he can do this right, he's onto something big, because I think that's where Marvel kind of fell off a little bit, because they're, you know, the animations that they're making aren't really linked to the MCU in a lot of cases. Some of them are, but, you know, a lot of them aren't. And I think that's kind of a bit of a downfall. I think, you know, have it all connected. Now, I know, you know, theoretically you could say it's all multiverse related and so on, but realistically, you know, you're clutching at straws when you say stuff like that, really. But I think if this is done correctly with the same actors, it's going to have a real kind of connective tissue across all mediums. And that's going to be really, really cool to watch. And I'm a big DC fan, so I'm down for the ride, 100%. I can't wait. I might call it there for the week. Massive shout out to anybody who was new. There was a lot of new faces in the chat today, so really appreciate everybody being here. If you're watching us on a replay, leave a comment as well.
Yep. Yeah. And just wanted to give it a heads up. I am working on call next week, so I will not be available.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll pick it up. Like the next podcast will be in 2 weeks' time. I might clip out some stuff and make some videos to drop on the channel, so the channel won't be dead for 2 weeks, but the next live podcast will be in 2 weeks' time.
Yep.
So yeah, appreciate everybody hanging out, guys. If you're listening to us and if you're hearing us say this right now and you've watched the video this long, massive thank you. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.